What the unsealed audio really exposed wasn't abuse, intimidation, or retaliation. It exposed spin. The exact moment Steve Sowitz praises Justin Baldoni is the moment Blake Lively's entire victim narrative starts to collapse in real time. Because if this call was truly evidence of danger, why is Sowitz calling Justin kind, beloved, respected by everyone he works with? Why is he describing him as a calming presence, the opposite of the villain Blake painted him to be? Why is Claire, the same woman who later claimed she was terrified, laughing, agreeing, and openly complimenting these same people? Nothing about this call sounds like fear. It sounds like familiarity, comfort, even friendship. And that's the crack in Blake's narrative that she couldn't afford. Because the second the full context was made public, the question shifted from, was Blake Lively threatened? To, was Blake Lively manufacturing a threat? The audio didn't confirm her story. It undermined it. It didn't expose Justin. It exposed her strategy. This wasn't about her safety. It was about protecting her brand. It wasn't about harassment. It was about controlling the story before it controlled her. And once the mask slipped, the illusion broke. The lie didn't just fail, it backfired. Because the one thing Blake never counted on was the truth becoming public. Once the audio hit the public, Hollywood did what Hollywood always does when a lie gets exposed. It distanced itself. Quietly at first. Executives stopped returning calls. Studios that once hyped her as a visionary suddenly went cold. Publicists who had repeated her storyline in press leaks suddenly went silent. Because once the truth is out, nobody wants to be holding the match when the fire starts. And the biggest shift wasn't even in the industry, said it was in the audience. People started asking real questions. If this call wasn't threatening, if the tone wasn't hostile, if the timeline didn't match, then what was this entire war really about? That's when the backlash turned. Comment sections turned into evidence boards. Reddit threads became public depositions. TikTok stitched the entire scandal together, and none of it matched the version Blake had been feeding the press. For months, she controlled the narrative. But once people heard the unedited truth, they controlled it. Hollywood watches public sentiment like a stock price, and Blake's value dropped overnight. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni didn't campaign. He didn't fight back in the press. He didn't spin anything. He did the one thing very few people in this industry are willing to do. He let the truth speak for him. And when it finally did, it hit harder than any headline, PR leak, or sympathy piece ever could. What really made Hollywood turn wasn't just the audio. It was what the audio proved. Behind the scenes, people were already whispering that something didn't add up, but nobody would say it publicly. Because in Hollywood, the bigger star controls the room, until they don't. When the recording surfaced, it exposed two things at once. One, Justin wasn't the aggressor. Blake wasn't the victim she had portrayed herself as. And suddenly, executives who had stayed neutral weren't neutral anymore. They were embarrassed. They had backed a narrative that blew up in their faces. A top streaming exec reportedly said privately, "We weren't defending her, we were protecting our relationship with her brand." Translation, it was never about truth. It was about leverage. But once the public flipped, so did the leverage. Her PR armor cracked. Her credibility crashed. And with no sympathy narrative left to stand on, people started remembering something Hollywood had been ignoring for years. Blake Lively doesn't tolerate losing control of projects, of people, or of the story. The industry realized this wasn't a harassment case. It was a power play dressed up as victimhood. And here's the part no outlet wants to say out loud. Hollywood didn't turn on her because she lied. Hollywood turned on her because she got caught and made them look complicit in the process. Executives don't forgive humiliation. Once the full audio became public, conversations inside the industry changed, fast. People who were previously silent suddenly weren't afraid to talk anymore. For months, everyone tiptoed, because Blake Lively still had the image advantage. America's favorite polished golden girl, married to one of the most likable actors in the industry, and backed by elite PR. But when the mask slipped, insiders began sharing what really happened on set. And this is what made Hollywood finally distance itself. The pattern insiders started pointing out. 1. She didn't want to be directed. She wanted final say. Multiple reports say Blake constantly overruled creative direction, rewrote scenes, and demanded script changes after scenes were already locked. 2. She used PR pressure as a weapon. If someone pushed back, suddenly sources close to Blake leaked concerns about them. 3. She positioned herself as the brand, not the actor. Executives said it felt less like a film set and more like a lifestyle empire being built around her image. 4. Everyone else became expendable. If you weren't helping her narrative, you were framed as the problem. This is why the audio was so devastating. Not because of what was said, but because of what it exposed. She wasn't being controlled. She was the one trying to control the production. For months, loyalists in the industry defended her, believing she was a victim of a male-dominated system. But after the recording, people realized she was using that very narrative as a bargaining chip. That crosses a line in Hollywood, especially at a time when false accusations are a nuclear weapon to a person's career. And the shift was immediate. A producer pulled out of a future collaboration. A studio quietly paused negotiations. One PR team reportedly refused to take her account, not because she's canceled, but because she's now seen as a liability, a star who might turn a normal disagreement into a public smear war. Blake Lively's legal strategy was never built on evidence. It was built on control. This was never about harassment, it was about power. The moment she couldn't control the production, she turned to controlling the narrative. But now that the full audio is out, her story is collapsing in real time. In court, her lawyers claimed this recording proved a $100 million threat against her and Ryan Reynolds. They told the judge it showed a producer plotting to destroy her career. But the unedited audio tells a completely different story. There was no intimidation, no conspiracy, just a studio executive saying he would defend his company if she sued them. That isn't retaliation, that's a legal right. And the judge is already seeing through it. Court filings show the credibility of Blake's own witness is now in question. Her sworn testimony doesn't even match her own voice on the tape. Behind the scenes, insiders say Blake's legal team is scrambling to block the audio from being used in court because it doesn't help her. It destroys her. The irony is brutal. The actress, who built a brand on authenticity and female empowerment, is now being accused of twisting facts and weaponizing the victim narrative. And the public is noticing. The mask is slipping. For years, Blake and Ryan were Hollywood's untouchable PR couple. Flawless, charming, adored. But since the audio dropped, the media's tone has shifted. Reporters aren't protecting her anymore. They're dissecting her claims. Legal analysts are openly questioning why she walked into court with evidence this week. Reddit threads, TikToks, exposés, all of them showing the same conclusion. Justin Baldoni wasn't the villain. He was the target. Blake used headlines. Justin relied on the truth. And in Hollywood, that contrast is impossible to hide forever. He didn't fight with outrage or interviews. He fought with patience. And it's working. For the first time, Hollywood isn't shielding Blake Lively. They're starting to distance themselves from her. And when a studio sees you as a legal risk, not an asset, the fall comes fast. Hollywood has a very simple rule. You can only play the victim if the public still believes you. And right now, that belief is evaporating. Executives are quietly stepping back. Streaming platforms are delaying meetings. Publicists in the industry are calling this a reputational hazard, not because of the lawsuit alone, but because of the pattern the recording revealed. Selectively edited narratives, claims that don't match the facts. Pressure tactics behind the scenes. Framing criticism as harassment. And once a pattern replaces a story, the PR shield disappears. Most actors survive scandals. They don't survive credibility collapse. That's why insiders are saying this moment is bigger than a legal case. It's a turning point in how Hollywood sees her. When studios realize you're capable of flipping a script off camera the same way you do on camera, they start asking a dangerous question. Am I next? And once executives start fearing unpredictability, you stop being bankable and start being replaceable. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni didn't need publicity. The recording gave him what PR never could, proof that his version of events was real. While Blake was playing to headlines, he was playing to the judge. And judges don't care about celebrity branding. They care about evidence. That is why legal analysts are now saying Blake may have overplayed her hand. Instead of proving she was the victim, the tape is raising questions about whether she weaponized the allegation to secure control of the project. And if that was the strategy all along, the fallout isn't temporary. It's permanent. Because Hollywood doesn't blacklist you for losing a case. They blacklist you for losing trust. The most telling part isn't what Hollywood said publicly. It's what they stopped saying privately. In this business, the blacklist never arrives as an announcement. It arrives as silence. Phone calls not returned, projects put on pause. Brands suddenly going in another direction, collaborators shifting to neutral distance. Lawyers recommending image damage control before strategy. Insiders say 3 studios have already begun reassessing her involvement in future projects. Not because she lost, but because she now carries liability. Hollywood doesn't care if someone is controversial. They care if someone is unpredictable. And unpredictability means investor anxiety, on-set instability, headline exposure, risk insurance complications. Once you become a PR risk factor, your box office value drops overnight. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni's reputation has done the exact opposite. He went from under scrutiny to wrongly accused to publicly vindicated, and studios love a redemption arc. The irony? The recording that was intended to prove Justin was the aggressor ended up showing something else entirely. He was the only person in the room acting like a professional. That's why executives are saying privately, this isn't a conflict story anymore, it's a credibility story. And credibility is Hollywood's real currency. Actors don't lose careers because someone else beat them in court. They lose careers when the industry stops trusting their version of events. Right now, Blake Lively isn't battling Justin Baldoni anymore. She's battling public doubt, and once that doubt becomes brand risk, the damage is no longer personal. It becomes structural. There was no abuse, no intimidation, no secret plot to destroy Blake Lively. There was only one thing, a manipulated narrative. And once the full recording was released, the power shifted instantly. Justin Baldoni didn't have to defend himself. The evidence did it for him. The industry that once hesitated is now quietly reopening its doors to him. His image is being restored not through PR statements, not through outrage, but through proof. Blake and Ryan tried to control the story. Justin won by refusing to play their game. In the end, it wasn't fame, clout, or headlines that decided this. Truth did. And truth doesn't need a press tour. When the audio dropped, social media flipped overnight. The same fans who once spammed hashtags like Taro Justice for Blake and Protect Blake are now walking away. TikTok breakdowns are exposing the contradictions. Reddit threads are saying what legacy media won't. Blake lied, and she got caught. Comments everywhere tell the real story. Justin deserves an apology. She played the victim. The PR spin collapsed. Meanwhile, Justin's following is growing faster than ever. Supporters are filling his pages with messages like, "We see the truth now, and you handled this with grace." No rage. No smear campaign. Just quiet dignity and a few words like, "Love always wins." And in today's culture, authenticity is currency. Once fans realize they were manipulated, they don't just walk away, they run. Now the fallout has officially begun. Blake Lively, once Hollywood's untouchable sweetheart, is facing a credibility crisis. PR insiders say brands are stepping back. Studios are pausing. Allies are going silent. Not because of drama, but because nobody wants to be attached to a proven lie. The same media machine she once controlled is now turning on her. What started as a sympathy strategy backfired into exposure, manipulation, reputation fuel, and a carefully crafted victim narrative. And Justin? He didn't destroy her. The truth did. This isn't Justin Baldoni's downfall. This is the collapse of Blake Lively's illusion, a perfect image that couldn't stand up to reality. And what happens next won't just affect this lawsuit. It may change how Hollywood handles its biggest perfect brand stars forever. Because at the end of all of this, one thing is undeniable. The truth won. So now the question is yours. Did Blake Lively get caught using victimhood as a shield? Or is there still more coming that Hollywood hasn't revealed yet? The moment the audio went public, Blake's team went into full-scale crisis management mode behind the scenes, and this is where things get very revealing. Because instead of addressing the evidence, they started trying to rewrite the narrative again. Behind closed doors, 2 things started happening immediately. PR team began briefing reporters off the record, telling outlets that the public was misinterpreting the call, and that Blake was emotionally distressed when she filed those claims. Ryan Reynolds quietly stepped in. Not publicly, not in a statement, but privately, through connections and studio pressure. Why? Because Ryan still has ongoing deals with major brands and streaming platforms, and unlike Blake, he cannot afford a credibility scandal tied to false claims. This isn't about defending Blake anymore. It's about protecting the Reynolds brand. Even PR insiders are whispering the same thing. Blake is being repositioned as misled or overly emotional so Ryan doesn't take the hit with her. Translation? They're prepping the public for a soft distancing, not a united front. You'll notice something else too. Blake has gone unusually quiet. No emotional IG posts. No, I stand by my truth statements. No pushback against the leaked audio. That silence isn't confidence, it's legal strategy plus damage control. Meanwhile, agents are now warning, do not let this get to a jury of public opinion again. She cannot win twice. Because the biggest threat to her now is not the court. It's the audience. And Ryan knows that. He's already shifting tone in interviews, more solo branding, less power couple imagery. If this PR implodes further, he will protect his career first, not hers. The inside talk is that their team is testing which spin might stick. Emotional misunderstanding, miscommunication, misinterpretation, poor legal advice, Blake feeling pressured, bad phrasing taken out of context. Not one of those includes, she told the truth. Because once the tape surfaced, that option disappeared. What we're watching now is the slow construction of a fallback narrative. Not innocence, damage limitation. And PR experts already know something the public is only now starting to see. If a victim story collapses publicly, Hollywood doesn't forgive it. It freezes you out. The industry can survive messy divorces, feuds, drama, but fake victimhood is considered career treason. That's why the silence feels so loud. This isn't just a scandal anymore. It's a reputation fight for survival. Now that the audio is out and the public sentiment has flipped, the biggest shift isn't happening online. It's happening inside Hollywood boardrooms. And this is where Blake's real problem begins. Because in this industry, once executives think you're not trustworthy, they don't confront you. They distance themselves. What's happening behind the scenes right now? Studios have stopped taking meetings. PR insiders say Blake had 2 major upcoming pitches tied to future projects. Both are now on hold pending optics. That's Hollywood code for, we're not touching this until we know how deep the damage goes. Brands are getting nervous. Some of her sponsors have already asked for PR risk assessments, which is the step right before pulling or pausing endorsement campaigns. No official drops yet, but the background panic is real. Journalists have switched tone. Mainstream outlets were protecting Blake when this first broke. Now they're doing something very different. Fewer supportive think pieces, more neutral language, shifting from victim, credibility questions. This is how Hollywood press prepares for a clean pivot away from you. An internal whisper network has turned. People are now saying, she weaponized victimhood. That's a red flag. In Hollywood, that accusation is considered far worse than a personal feud. Studios will work with divas. They won't work with liability. Why Justin is winning without speaking. Most scandals end in, he said, she said. This one didn't. There is audio. There are documents. There is context. Justin didn't need a press tour. Didn't need a takedown campaign. Didn't need revenge through headlines. The evidence cleared him, and that has made him trustworthy in an industry starving for credibility. Hollywood doesn't reward loud, it rewards control. He stayed quiet, he stayed employable. Why this is suddenly dangerous for Blake. Blake had power because she had image. But now, America's sweetheart branding is fractured. The public is hesitating. Media is backing away. Studios are waiting to see fallout. Her value was PR-based. Once PR cracks, the brand cracks with it. This is the part no fan realizes. When a studio sees you as unpredictable or manipulative, they don't file lawsuits. They just stop calling. The next phase. What's coming next? If her team can't spin this within weeks, you'll start to see sudden hiatus announcements, emotional rebrand interviews, misunderstanding apology-light narratives, brand partnerships quietly going inactive, Ryan shifting into solo visibility. This isn't collapse yet. This is pre-collapse positioning. They're bracing.